don't need friends, though I'll be lonely. And all I need is shine my own space. Oh Lord, I'm running, 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 running away. I'm running, running from bad mind and jealousy. Oh Lord, I'm running, 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 running away. I'm running, running, running so far away, so far away. I wanna be alone. My heart is aching me. I wanna be alone. Bad mind, I'm begging, please. I wanna be alone. I'm fighting on my knees. Fighting on my knees. All alone, all alone, 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 alone. All alone, all alone. I wanna be alone. All alone, all alone, 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 alone. All alone, all alone. I wanna be alone. I can't sleep at night. Oh, I can't sleep. Problems won't leave my life. Get away from me. They want to.
Welcome, welcome, brothers. We are operating from Studio Galaxy in Confaro. Studio Galaxy 473 in Confaro, Paraclete. And we use this opportunity to exchange ideas, to provoke discussion, to talk about some pertinent issues, whether it is politics, world economics, or issues. And our number to call is 410-3030. We always encourage people to participate. We don't mind being very interactive. We are a new kid on the block, so you have to share our program or encourage your children or whoever to listen to us. Our brothers in the diaspora this morning, we have with us our brother Fatman. That name is well known in Paraclete. Denis McIntosh, a brother who has been, sometimes when people say he come on holiday in Paraclete, I always take issue with that. I say, this man go on holiday in England. Because over the last 30 years, I believe I've seen him almost every year in the community, contributing, participating, involved in every aspect of society. And Denis lives not far from Confaro, where we have Stereo Galaxy. Brother, welcome, man. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Pierre. Good morning to all your viewers and listeners on this podcast. I'm glad Mr. Pierre has asked me to make a contribution this morning to the podcast, and he's given me a wide range of topics that we can cover. I'd like to start off very briefly with saying, since my arrival to Grenada, which is about 2.5 weeks ago, I've noticed a profound change in the rural area. There seems to be a malaise, a lack of economic activity. Apart from a few sort of things like mountain sports, there seems to be, not as many people attending these activities. I don't know what the reason is. There may be several reasons. I've heard about the problems with Ariza Credit Union and people not getting paid. But what I'm hearing from people on the streets is they haven't got the means. They haven't got the money to spend. They're wary of spending money on social activities or even going to the shops. Again, that's, I had a conversation with some friends recently, and I said even the rum shops seem to be quiet. And whereas people used to be drinking Rivers, they're now gone to another brand, Clark's Court, because it's slightly cheaper. So this is one of the things I've noticed in my first couple of weeks here in Grenada.
Yes, and you individual have been in this community life always concerned about the younger people in our community. Our young men in Paraclete, our young men in the neighboring village, Moncton, Lafayette, Paraclete,
Well, that's been very upsetting to me to see that I operate or help out both villages, Paraclete and Moncton. The vast majority of the people in Paraclete and Moncton if they trace back, they are related, they are relatives. And when I'm hearing about these stupid feuds, it's really upsetting, not only to me, but to their friends and family out there in the diaspora. When young people have to be shipped abroad for their own safety, when you see young people walking around the streets with disfigured limbs or arms, I don't understand what is going on. What is the reasoning? Is it due to social media? Is it due to music influence? Is it due to, silly long-term family feuds? But it needs to be addressed and it needs to be stopped. And it's not about police. It's about community. It's also, to be honest, it's also about the politicians in the area intervening, showing a face, going to the young people in the block, having a word with them, speaking to them. But it's also, Mr. Pierre, the most paramount thing is giving young people something to do. A lot of these young guys, they've got nothing constructive to do, be it work, be it playing football, be it playing cricket, be it doing other things. Something needs to be done to encourage them to stop what they are doing and get involved in something constructive.
Yeah, that is one of the saddest issue as you observe the communities. We have a lot of our young men, some of them exit school and they don't have a job. They can hold on a job. Some of them are not. The jobs that are available, they don't have the basic skills and knowledge, right? In addition to that, you don't have much sporting facilities. Within the school system, you have intercall, very powerful, and a lot of people participate in it. But once you leave school, it seems as though all these sporting activities just die.
You've pointed out a very good point. The intercall, traditionally is the main sort of sports meet for the year. But my focus would be on the national championships. I think if you're a national champion, and that could go for people who are older as well to continue their athlete career. There's lots and lots of things to be gained by continuing your sporting endeavors. Nowadays there's money in sports, Mr. Pierre. And if you meet the right person, the right coach, the right scout, could take you away from Moncton and Parkleet and bring you to an international level. So just because you finish school, I can see many young girls, some of my family, walking around. And in the days, they were fantastic sportswomen. Yet, they decided, I've left school, I'm not going to bother, I'm going to just, get a job, have children. And then 10 years down the line, they're reminiscing about how good they were, how fast they were. But if they had continued, you don't know where that might have brought them. They could have been the next Shelly Ann Fraser or Elaine Thompson. But, how many female Grenadian athletes have made the grade? I used to, in the past, Mr. Pierre, bring young people from this community over to England to run for my club, the Serpentine Athletics Club. The first person was Keston Thomas. And now he went over to England, he joined the army, and now he's making a life out there for himself. And there's been others, Kelroy Bridgman, Kendall Simon, Leslie Frederick, Shenton Eno, Shaka Noel. All these guys, not all from this village, we brought over to England because of their ability in sports.
Well, this definitely, but it saddens your heart when the young men and women leave school and it seems that they don't have much hope. Even cricket. This village was a very dynamic village where cricket is concerned. Parkleet, Moncton, Lafayette, Carrier, Dunfermline, all these communities. And sometimes it's difficult to get a team. Sometimes the individuals in Parkleet or Carrier, sometimes they're struggling to get 12 or 13 fellas.
Well, Parkleet, I don't think could muster 5 or 6, which is a shame. I used to enjoy coming down to Grenada, sitting on the bank in Silver and Pasture, watching a game of cricket, watching the likes of Dane, Pamasa, John Brown, all these guys playing cricket. But what a lot of people don't also understand, there is a economic factor to it as well. Somebody could walk around selling their little sugar cake, making a living. It also, a winning team also, you you walk around in Grenville, your team are doing well, you're walking around with your shoulders broad. There's none of this now, and it's such a shame. There is nothing happening in this particular village. We have a school, Mr. Pierre. Why can't the school facilities be used more productively after? We know Parkland has never had a community centre. The late Eric Matthew Geary said the school should be a community facility. Why are not workshops being run in the school after hours? Even reading and writing classes. Do something to try and encourage young people to get away from just sitting around nowadays, on the phone or watching TV, to go and do something constructive. I remember when your brother used to run dance classes, ballet, down in the school with Dougie and them playing drums and so on. None of these things seem to be happening to get young people involved in something. I was very pleased to see Paraclete or Green Valley participating in the Mountain Sports. And I give kudos to all the young men and women who took part in it, and especially those who, fantastic turnout in the March Pass, which, by the way, they won. But again, with the Mountain Sports, they have an organization. But in Paraclete, for some reason, every time somebody tries to organize something, it becomes party political. Oh, you can't have this color logo because it signifies X, Y, and Z. We've got to start putting a lot of these political or petty political things aside and start getting back to the community. Paraclete was once a great village. People used to leave from where they're living and come and reside in Paraclete. Nowadays, it seems to be nothing.
Well, definitely. And as you spoke about the school, we had so much groups having activity in the school once that we started the village council because the groups was quarreling over time and dates. The Anglican church used to have their activities in the school. The Catholic church used to have their activities in the school. The cultural club, the forage club, the food summits,
pressure
pumpers. Now the school have run everybody away. The Anglicans have to go back in their little corner to have their harvest. The Catholics have their harvest around the church. They had to cancel a dinner because the place was not conducive for that. The groups now have to have the functions in the road. The school run all the organizations out of the school.
But it was there as a community facility. Moncton has their community center. Other places have their community centers. Paraclete hasn't got a community center. So that should be the hub of activity in the evening. Again, so when you speak out on certain things, people say it's about politics. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just a genuine love for your community. Mr. Pierre, I'll just change it slightly. I mean, I've been a vegetarian now for the last 7 years. However, people still eat or want something to eat. In an evening in Paraclete, from Paraclete itself to Canfaro, apart from sometimes on a Friday, there is nothing where you can go and get something to eat at night or late in the evening. What's happened to the entrepreneurial spirit? There seems to be some things happening which has made people just slip away from doing these things. These things are important.
Well, this one again is there is nothing government policy has contributed to the raise in the price of sugar, and as a result, a lot of the confectionery industry is dwindling. So the people who used to make pudding and sugar cake and all these things, they have been practically priced out of the market. In addition to that, you're correct. It is not easy to get something to eat around. So people would go to the chicken place in Grenville. Otherwise, those who cook at their home are at home. But even the young men who drink alcohol, they're drinking alcohol on empty stomach. So you're more likely to find people turning alcoholics, not only because of the drinking of alcohol, but because they develop a culture to consume alcohol without getting anything to nibble on. And these things creeping in your society. And I'm glad you make mention of it. But a number of people used to leave. They used to leave by what they say, they turn in their hand.
Yeah.
They make ice cream. You could have pass on at evening time and purchase ice cream, pudding, buns, cakes. You don't have that in the community.
It's nothing now.
You
Nothing.
don't even have somebody barbecuing in the community. Fried chicken, fried fish, all these things are dwindling away. And in addition to that, you have high migration of our young men.
Oh, very high migration. I was saying the other day, the amount of young people I'm seeing in England from Paraclete and Moncton, some of them due to the recent incidents, some have tried to look for better, see the grass is greener on the other side. However, what I would say, Mr. Pierre, is that a lot of people believe that leaving Grenada and going to England, and especially on some of these, for the ladies, these silly nannying jobs, it is not as it says. It's a con. And a lot of young people are leaving Grenada, going up to England, and they're highlighting themselves on social media, and it looks to others that they're doing so well. But they're not. A lot of them are sleeping 2, 3, 4 to a room and sharing toilets and bathrooms because they haven't got the means to go on their own. A lot of these jobs they go to, they've been, I would use the word conned, and they've been
conned and used.
And used. They tell you, for example, you're going to go and look after one child. It turns out that family might have 3, 4 children. When I worked it out for one of these young ladies one time, they were working for about £2 something an hour, when the minimum wage in England is £10.50 something. So they were working for £2 something an hour, yet they're going to highlight themselves on social media. And then the worst thing is the people down here, the friends and family who are, you're in England, send me this, send me that, send me that. Not realizing that these people have rent to pay, bus fares to pay, and they're not making as much money as you think. Going and buying a nice outfit in a shop called Primark and you putting it on, yes, it costs a few pounds, but don't get fooled or stop making these demands on people because you think they're living such a good life out in the big world. A lot of the guys I'm seeing up there, some of them have gone up there and continuing the same behavior. They've been sent away because they're getting in trouble down here, and they go to England and they're going to go and get themselves in trouble here. Again, I try to help them. Myself, my brother, and other lot of sort of small contractors, we try to help them out, but they are not reliable. They want to turn up when they want to turn up. They want to give you attitude. So in the end, you say, you know what? I'm not going to use you. And it's a shame. One thing I would say about Paraclete, again, Mr. Pierre, is this split between Canfarro and up the road itself. We are one village. Party politics has to stop. You have people up the road, you have people down the road. If you support a party, that's your prerogative. But that should not impinge on your relationship and your community spirit because one side is yellow and the other side is green. The time for, yes, we can go on air. I know you have your program. You have a particular leaning. I have a particular leaning. Somebody else has a particular leaning. But that doesn't mean we can't get together for the betterment of our community. For those who have influence in the community, this needs to stop. It really needs to stop. People need to start to get together and think of the bigger picture rather than I voted green, I voted yellow. It needs to stop, Mr. Pierre.
Well, I'm worried that if we don't seriously address this issue, we're going to break up the village like a creeks.
Well, the fragmentation is started already. People don't come down to socialize this end don't come down to go and socialize up the road, and it's really, really disheartening. As a person who grew up in this community, even cricket. There's some guys who up the road, I ain't gonna play because this person down the road organize it. What a load of rubbish.
Plenty rubbish.
Plenty rubbish.
In addition to that, some of them young men can't even walk into mountain.
When I heard these things, and I'm in England, and imagine I could hear these news before because of social media, where buses are being stopped and all this kind of thing, and searched for a particular individual. What is going on? I think these guys have been influenced, by these social media sometimes, and they think, well, we have to be a gangster and so on. There was a clip, Mr. Pierre, that was circulated on social media, and I don't care who vex. and the police had come to apprehend a young person, and some older persons intervened. What people don't realize nowadays, when you're making noise or you're getting involved in an argument, the first thing people do is pull out a mobile phone and start filming it. And somebody's going to circulate it. And sooner or later, you can end up looking like a fool, on social media. Nobody's saying don't film things, but people circulate it. So you have to be mindful of your behavior when certain things are done. And what I would say, like it or not, if the police are doing a job and they're detaining somebody there, they're not beating the person up. Let them do their job. You see with your eyes, you report, and if you're not happy, you go and you lodge a complaint or a report. But let them do their job, because you don't know what that young person has been involved in or accused of.
In a lot of instances, I always say to people, we have to support the police. Because if the police come and they have an issue and they're dealing with individuals, and you go and some of them want to grab, well, you have situations where they actually take the arresting person from the police and go.
Exactly. Drag them away.
Drag them from the police and go. And the situation is definitely not encouraging. And we have one of the school that was speaking to a young girl, because I say sometimes when the boys have a problem, I go to the women. Ask what is the problem with the boys? You must know. And she said to me, is one secondary school, she said 80 to 90% of the individuals that are given problem within the two communities attend one secondary school. And we have 3, maybe 4 secondary schools in Grenada, the Grenville Secondary School. Attention have to be paid to that school, because it seems the school is like a factory to produce delinquent individuals. And the issues that start in the school ending up in the communities, adults joining it, pick up the weapon, 8, 9, 10 of them, and walk through a community. And there were even instances where guns was fired.
Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely. For your listeners who don't know, I spent 27 years in the Metropolitan Police. And in my latter years, when I came off the streets, I was what they call a schools officer. And the role of the schools officer was to not be arresting young people in the schools, but to have a presence, to liaise, communicate with the young people, to give the young people somebody else apart from a teacher or a parent that they could come and they relate to. And the relationship I had with a lot of the young people in the areas that I dealt with, they would come and tell me things or, give me information about what's going on. And I think it's something that, I know they have it in Grenada, they need to try maybe to introduce. It's not about there being about, detaining and arresting young people and searching them for their weapons or their drugs, although that could be part of it. But it's also to have another person which you can talk to, give information to, discreetly. And, that program needs to be revamped and revitalized. We did lessons on crime and its consequences, drugs and the law, and all those types of things, personal safety. We would talk, we give lessons, actual lessons in the classrooms to ensure that the young people had a greater knowledge of what it is like when they go into the big world.
Yes, I think we definitely have to do more and do something. It's not a question of putting your hands up in the air. I remember I was in one of my programs, I was calling on the Minister of Youth to visit the communities. I didn't think he bothered with that. And the police must be fed up and frustrated too, but the police still have they have the community, police community program, or how they call it, and more have to be done to reach these communities. I think Paraclet perhaps was on the receiving end because a number of the young men have gone.
Yeah.
So you have a village where you have a number of the young men from the community flown out to the United States, England, Trinidad, as a result of conflicts between the community. And that is sad. Some parents who have the means, that they have the contacts, that they have relatives that we send their sons away. We already have we have a school in the community where not very many children from the village are in the school.
Yeah,
So
the vast majority are from Moncton.
from Moncton.
Yeah.
So you don't have your, if your young man is disappearing, and those that remain perhaps find quite a lot of comfort in the rum, the weed, and the drugs. And then the few remain, they're living in St. George's, they're afraid to come in the community.
It's a shame. But when we're coming back to the policing, Mr. Pierre, the only time I've seen a police officer in this area is driving through in a van. And there's one or two officers who live in the community.
Yeah.
It's not their job to be working 24/7. Where is our community officer? How often do you see a police officer not in a car patrolling, but walking the beat, talking to people, going by the Moncton pasture, talking to the young people? They're seeing a presence. Their behavior will change if they get to know that there is officers around walking, talking, finding out information, relating with them. But these things need to happen more, not just driving around late at night in a car or when an incident happens. You have to be proactive rather than just being reactive. And that's the word, proactivity rather than just reacting when something occurs. Be out there in your uniform, a visible presence so people can actually see you. These are important things. I don't want to drag politics into it, but when you're naive in terms of certain aspects of security, then these things are not going to happen. You need people with a little bit of experience, a little bit of knowledge to know certain things and how things work, to put systems in place to ensure that you get this type of policing.
You're correct. And even one of the biggest concerns that I have over the years is that the absence, the disappearance of groups in the school. I mean, you had the scout group. A number of young boys from the community went to Jamaica while they was in primary school in Jamboree. We have a number of people went to Barbados and other countries while they were in 4-H club. They went to camp in Carriacou, and every August holiday, some people would say summer, they were in camps. You had a number of high groups, and even women football. But there is an absence now of groups in the school, and it appears that the school do not believe that it's part of their jobs to be involved in groups. So groups are practically absent from the schools.
Well, as we said earlier on, this, I won't use the word elders, but those with influence within the community needs to step up. People are fed up with this, that, and the other. The only, Paraclet, even the mass ban, there's always controversy. Nothing runs smooth. People always talking about, this person's taking money, and that always seems to come down to it, which, for me, that really gets my goat up, because there's always conflict. If you're going to run an organization or a group, have some proper accounting so people can see where money's going, what comes in, what goes out. Because a lot of people only see the end product, Mr. Pierre.
And sometimes there's no truth in it.
They see the end product. They don't see the time. They don't see if you're going to be buying materials. They don't see, your petrol money or whatever expenses you might incur. All they see, they make a dance and they make a money, and we don't see any money, And that's been happening for years and years in this community here, where cricket, again, where the cricket money go, and blah, blah, blah. And this one had to pay for a ball, and this one, it's tiresome. It's tiresome.
And all these factors have contributed to a community that is, the activities are dwindling, and the results, you see the amount of contentious attitude and behavior of our people. And somebody or other, we need some intervention, and we are here, and we provoke this discussion, and people can help. How you think our brothers in the diaspora, you have been doing quite a lot in the community, but how do you think our brothers in the diaspora who interact with their family members here, perhaps could give them some experience of their own life and maybe some guidelines, encourage them?
I hate the term diaspora. I've never liked that term. And it's being branded about more and more recently with us in the diaspora. Well, Grenadians, for me, I'm a Grenadian living abroad. This diaspora thing, I don't like it because it puts me in a basket with, like a fish, as you say, trapped in a basket. Now, one of the issues with the diaspora, and more recently, is politics. And again, it comes back to this politics. And, well, if I'm going to help, who am I helping? Am I going to help people who's NNP, or I'm going to help people who's NDC? No, you're not helping people who are NNP or NDC. You're helping your community. And since the last election, to me, the split has become more and more and more and more divided.
More marked.
And it's frustrating to people like myself. I'm very vocal, Mr. Pierre.
Yeah.
I'm very vocal. And I go on social media and I make comments. But I have some friends who, they always feel, oh, well, I'm party aligned or whatever. No, I'm not. I've never cast a vote in Grenada in my life. All right? But I have a view. I pay taxes down here, whether it be it property taxes or be it duties when
you contribute massively.
I contribute massively
in the community.
Yeah? And one of them had the cheek the other day to say, what you do for Grenada? And I had to, I went back and I said I was one of the persons who was instrumental in bringing food aid and other aid after Hurricane Ivan and Emily.
Now, your contribution here is massive.
I've done things for the surgery, giving them medical supplies, Cajona nursing home, all out of my own pocket.
Even going down and speak to individuals who was in conflict in Moncton a few years ago.
Exactly.
Was there practically speaking to individuals on the block.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not one of these persons. I'm not blowing my own trumpet.
Yeah.
I will speak to the person, the highest on the high, and I will also speak to consider the lowest on the low. I move with every single person. As long as you have respect for me, I have respect for you. All right? The guys who come around, they beg me for $1, I'll give them, but I'll ask them, why are you begging? Why aren't you trying to do something more? But then again, that's another issue, Mr. Pierre. The amount of young people in our community, and it's not only alcohol or drug related, who have mental health issues. Yeah. And when I hear in politics in Grenada, especially now, and people in the diaspora who are supposed to be friends or they grew up in the community, but because they've traveled and maybe they got a few pounds in their pocket, there's no people who are poor and vulnerable in Grenada. What an absolute stupid, insensical statement to actually make about there is no people who are poor and vulnerable. When I see the young men, more so, walking up and down aimlessly, when I see people in my community sleeping on concrete floors, smelling, maybe they haven't had a meal in days, going through dustbins, etc. And then foolish people tell me, oh, there's no poor and vulnerable. Oh, they're lazy. It's not about lazy. If you have a mental health issue or you have a drug or alcohol dependency, it's not about being lazy. When I see how some people are living in the community, even the housing situation, and yes, people can blame the previous administration, etc., etc. But this is the now. So if things are not happening now or you've made promises, keep to your promises. Don't just say, well, there are no poor and vulnerable people. And it's those who are getting a monthly salary in Grenada as well, a regular monthly salary. They're the ones who are, oh, well, there's no poor and vulnerable. You're getting your $2,000 a month. These persons are getting absolutely nothing. And again, I like to talk a little bit about my community and what I've seen. I made a comment the other day about Beardo Road, and I posted it. And the amount of people who came and hatcheted me, criticized me. And I said, look, yes, the road has never been a highway, but for me, in the last couple of years, it has deteriorated to a state where it needs intervention. And even prior to the last election, I wrote to the minister and spoke to her regarding the state and the condition of the roads. So it's not about now. I'm talking about in the past. I also asked what is being done to fix the roads. Nothing. It's deteriorated. Some man gonna go, so in the 60s, I used to walk there. In the 60s, there was 1 or 2 cars on the road.
Yeah.
Now, people have vehicles and they want to pass. So let's get something done. And it's politics. If the NNP were in power, because I spoke to the minister and she said, look, that was the next phase of our programs, was to do that road. But now my hands are in a sense tied. And you have what I don't understand in Grenada politics, Mr. Pierre. If you are an elected member of parliament, the power base in that community should be you. The financing for projects should go to you. But you're hearing like the caretakers or the opposition who have lost that seat, they're the ones who seem to be controlling the purse strings. Something is not right with our political system. That needs to change. People were saying about democracy. Well, democracy is about empowering people to do things in their community. And the person who's won the seat, if you're not giving them the tools to do it, how do you expect them to do the work for you?
The winner takes it all. And when a government in power, effort is being made to starve the
stifling the opposition.
Now, the previous government won all the seats on 2 occasions. So the last 9 years, they were there. This group of individuals are brand new to politics. None of them was even active in any developmental organization, community group, etc. So they seem to be setting their own template, and they seem to be punishing the individuals who won the seat in the constituency. Somebody stopped me and said, why don't you speak about the road? You pass there every day. I say I'll speak about the road in the next year. I'll wait 1 year to pass. Because you see, by that time, you would hear a thunderous cry about it. I say, I drive very slow. I have a 4-wheel drive vehicle. And it seems that the government decided to ignore that aspect of it. And it's unfortunate because the previous government was accused for too much of concrete. They say they're spending too much time on the road.
The same guys who sometimes come on my posts and say X, Y, and Z, they're the ones who are complaining about concrete. Now, all I'm seeing Ron Redhead, and Tevin Andrews' post is about which concrete they have completed. Yeah. And somebody will say, concrete. All I think development is concrete. And now they're praising. You understand? And it's hypocrisy. What I don't like, Mr. Pierre, is hypocrisy in politics or anything aspects of hypocrisy. If you say something and you criticize, then back it up. Yeah, now, people are saying, elections finished and, use our NNP and blah, blah, blah. It's not about that for me. I believe in that if you do something well, give the person praise. If you do something bad, accept criticism. And we seem to be, Grenadians now seem to be stifled in terms of not saying or repeating what they want to say. Everybody's afraid for some reason, whether they may be because they feel they might lose their jobs or they might be victimized in some other way. Speak out.
Yeah.
If you don't speak out, then nothing's going to get done. Mm-hmm. So everything's going to think it's hunky-dory. And if you're enabling people who are doing wrong, all you're doing is enabling them even more so they think they're doing right. If you say, hey, mate, you're not doing it perfectly, then,
I think we definitely, you have a number of individuals on social media. Some of them have the inclination. But I'm very hopeful that a new attitude is taken on social media where people are very bold when they're speaking and they're daring everybody to take them on, and they say they will stick to facts and the truth. One would hope that would continue to provide some form of a balance, some form of objectivity, some form of neutrality to the politics. So although you may have your political inclination, but if you sell yourself as somebody who advocates and promotes the truth, then you might have to stick there. And I do hope that the government recognize some of the social problems that we speak about.
I think that is an aspect for me, the social problems in this country at the moment, and I'm seeing it. And people will say, "Oh, didn't you see it before under Keith Mitchell?" I saw it before, and I commented about it. But now it seems to be rising at a more rapid rate. I'm seeing more vagrants on the street. I stopped off in St. David's the other day, and out of the blue, this old disheveled young man came to me. Said, "Mister, I ain't asking you for money, but you can buy me a bread." And that almost, I stopped in my tracks to think, well, that's strange. He hasn't asked me for money. He's asked me to buy him some food. And I could look at the man's body, and I could see that that man is malnourished. He's under eating. So whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs or whatever, I don't know. I don't know the person. But I'm seeing a lot and a lot more of these things happening in Grenada. And everybody thinks that things are so wonderful. But it might be more wonderful in the south of the island, in St. George's, where the more affluent people live. So they're not seeing, a 5% rise in sugar is not going to affect somebody who's earning 4, 5, 6,000 as much as it's going to get somebody who has to hustle. So let's open our eyes and stop being so selfish. When I help out in Moncton Sports, Mr. Pierre, I don't care if it's people who are NNP or NDC. It's the sports. And now Moncton, Parklet haven't got a team. I've said to the Moncton cricket team, when I go back in England in the next couple of months, I'm going to help them out. They're struggling because half of their young players have been either incarcerated or hauled off overseas or whatever. So they're struggling for players. But at least they've got an organization. And I spoke to their captain. And I said, look, I'll try and help you guys out because I love my sports. I love it. And for me, it's a way of engaging or letting young people do something productive.
We definitely have to, and I think one of the things people don't understand, the previous government was spending more money on social safety net program than any other government in the region. And this present government, well, it's part of the policy that they believe they were giving too much handouts. So as a result, they cut the social program. So you would see more dramatic aspect of that now. So even individuals who was considered mentally challenged, there are some instances when they were on social program. And there were programs, I remember Yolan Bain had programs where they cutting their hair and giving them clothes and etc. And they had the caregivers. So the government cut social program. They cut money from the elderly, the physically challenged. They remove money from disadvantaged children that paying bus to go to school. Some of I think we have one in Parklet that had to leave school. And I asked her why they didn't say something somebody else could help them. But these people don't say nothing. They just can't pay to go to school. They drop off from school. So you would see more evidence of that social
which I have seen, and as I said, when I try to relate to some of my, I'll say Facebook friends or whatever, they're doubting me. Oh, and you know what really gets my goat, Mr. Pierre, is when people say, "Well, NNP was in power for 25 years, and what it didn't do." I am not worried about what NNP didn't do. I'm worried about the now because it's the now that I am dealing with. All right, not about the NNP. Another thing that really gets my goat with politics is this hatred. I'm not saying I love or adore Keith Mitchell. However, there seems to be this thing going around, this hatred of Keith Mitchell and everything that, Keith Mitchell, you bonks your toe, Keith Mitchell make you bonks your toe. And people have this mindset in their mind that they hate Keith Mitchell. Now, like everybody else, he's made mistakes. But when you ask them, well, what has he done to you? Did he come into politics and seize power by a gun? The answer is no. Has there been any political detainees in Grenada under his regime? The answer is no. So why this particular political or why this profound hatred? And especially in the diaspora. You have people, Keith Mitchell this, Keith Mitchell that. I don't know. Yes, I've never heard of Keith Mitchell seizing private lands and taking away people's private land. So I'm asking the question again for those who are listening. Why this profound hatred of a particular individual? A guy who I know played cricket, is very friendly. Yes, he might have his issues, but why this hatred? And that needs to stop. I'm not saying I revere him, but remember, he was the Prime Minister for 25 years, the longest serving
and he won election on 3 occasions,
and again,
winning all the seats.
Democratically.
And,
you argue again, why is his face not on the, although they might say he's alive, on the new dollar commemorative, where you have a leader who seized power by the gun, who's not this fantastic person that people make out to be, this great historical figure. When you research his background, and I know the person who actually used to contest the seat against him, and he said this guy was an absolute horror.
Yes, and that's what happened when it's the first session. I do hope that we have other session talking about the issues. We almost out of time. So you can make your final. We have about 3 minutes again, so you can make your final suggestion.
For inviting me on this podcast this morning. I'd like to say Grenada is a lovely place, a beautiful place. However, speak out. Doesn't matter who you voted for. If you are unhappy with something, talk and let people know. Let your representatives know. Come onto the radio station. Let people know. If something positive is happening, also speak out about it. But there are a lot of issues that people need to let the powers that be made aware of, because they're thinking in their minds that everything is fantastic. Well, it's not. I sit by the shop every night and there's hardly anybody around. Something is fundamentally happening on a negative side in the rural communities. So it's not about St. George's. It's not about St. David's. It's about, for me, St. Andrew's, and especially my 2 villages, Paraclete and Moncton. Once again, thank you, Mr. Pierre, for inviting me onto your podcast.
Yes, my brother, thank you very much. And I do hope that this is not the last time. Anytime you're in Grenada, you're welcome here anytime, and just have to give me a shout. Sometimes I'm here with a guest, and sometimes I'm here alone. Anytime I'm here alone, immediately you could pop in, and it could always make room for you. And we want to encourage people in the diaspora. We could use the technology. You could call, you could use WhatsApp, and you could ask any question about Grenada. Once we're able to answer, we will answer. We will research and give you the answer, and you could challenge us on that program on Studio Galaxy 473 in Confaro, Paraclete. Thank you very much.
Try to kill we and break way. Them don't realize it's the same fight that build way. I don't need friends, though I'll be lonely. And all I need